Yo, what's up, y'all? It's the MMA Analyst here to do my preview, my predictions video for UFC 96. This one's going down in Ohio. The card altogether, if it, like Randy Jackson, it's kind of pitchy, but we'll get right down to it, like we always do. Apologies about UFC 95 recap. Just could not get the time to get the video done until like maybe a day or two ago, and by then, you know what I mean, UFC 95 is like long gone. UFC 96 is right here, you know what I mean, trying to stay current. I'm gonna try and get the Dream one done in the next day. Just started a new job and different hours and just trying to figure out, you know what I mean. But y'all ain't trying to hear all that. Let's get right down to it, top to bottom. Alright, Rampage Jackson versus Keith Jardine, the Dean of Mean. Alright, let's start with Quentin. He's 29-7. He's coming off a decisive win over his arch nemesis, Wanderlei Silva. Y'all know him. You know what I mean? Prior to that, he was coming off a high-speed chase in a monster truck through LA. And prior to that, he was coming off a somewhat controversial decision loss to Forrest Griffin. What is he known for? His utter strength, his slams, aka Slampage. He's one tough-ass dude with this thing on that we call a body, but like it's more like a protective shell. He's taken 3 vicious beatdowns, 2 at the hands of Wanderlei Silva, 1 at the hand of Shogun, or I guess the knees and bottom of the foot, whatever you want to call it. But dude was never really down and out. He's always just been there and always been, just able to work through or just make it through. Anyways, he lost by DQ to prior to that. He was subbed by Sakuraba, and he lost his first loss, whatever, came to Marvin Eastman back in 2000. That's his losses, get those out of the way. Other than that, though, what has he done on the winning end? A whole damn lot. Other than his virtual highlight reel in Pride, where he damn near killed Arona, he mangled Igor Vovchanchin, he knocked out Kevin Randleman in some certified black-on-black crime, he decisioned Murilo Bustamante, he melted the Iceman, that's all still in Pride, and even got a, admittedly an undeserved decision over Murilo Ninja Hua. Since that, he's defeated Matt Lindland. He avenged his loss to Marvin Eastman. He beat Chuck again, you know what I mean? And beat Dan Henderson. And, really up next for this Memphis-born fighter, he's looking to add the Dean of Mean, Keith Jardine, to the already long list of defeated opponents. Let's talk about Keith Jardine. AKA, who's that dude? The Techno Viking. Y'all know what I'm talking about. 14-4. The Jackson submission fighter is looking to break up his recent roller coaster ride in MMA and the UFC. In his last 5 fights, in order, he beat Brandon Vera. He lost via rape choke / assault / attempted murder to Wanderlei Silva. He beat Chuck Liddell. He had his head sent into outer space by Houston Alexander. And he beat Forrest Griffin. If he would have beat Wanderlei, his record in the light heavyweight division would have been one of the most impressive to both casual fans and the hardcore ones. But instead, he was sent to the hospital after like 5 minutes of being, unconscious, counting probably blurry, slightly deformed sheep. Anyways, he also has wins over Wilson Govea, Mike Whitehead, and some lesser knowns. He also has a loss to Travis View. Like I said, He does not want the trend of up and down to continue, because not only are the ups up, but the downs are low down and dirty. His recent wins were far less violent than his recent losses, and I can guarantee you he does not want this next fight to be a down, because Quentin will, you know what I'm saying? But unfortunately, I don't think he'll have much say in the outcome. Greg Jackson, he always comes up with great game plans. Quentin Jackson, he never really seems to have one. You know, he always just does his, I'm gonna whoop someone's ass. You know what I mean? He always just, you know, that's his plan, to whoop someone's ass. The key to Jardine's victory, in my opinion, is obvious. It's leg kicks. He doesn't have the hand speed, the accuracy, or the power to really hurt that large rock called Jackson's head. And, you know, if Jardine gets into a brawl, it's going to be bad for him. He's going to end up taking a nap. So, you know what I mean? It's like his only plan of attack in my mind are leg kicks, but, you know what I mean? Vanderlei Silva caught him right after the leg kick, you know, lured him into a very short brawl, and that was that. I kind of questioned Greg Jackson's words after Jardine's loss to Vanderlei when he said something like, you know, we didn't stick to our game plan. Like, what I saw was Jardine tried a leg kick, and Jardine throws more leg kicks than anybody else under Zuffa contract. So if a leg kick wasn't his plan, what the F was his plan? When Vanderlei knew that leg kicks were his plan, Rampage knows leg kicks are his plan, and I believe Rampage will get another knockout, potentially brutal, after a leg kick in the first round. Unfortunately, the roller coaster ride will continue for the only guy to date who would not say MMA is important on camera. Come on, Maynard. Come on, Keith. Come on now, man. All right, we're gonna move on. No beef though. We all good. You know what I mean? Next time I see you though, man. MMA is important. Everybody knows. Come on. All right. Gabriel Gonzaga versus Carwin. Shane Carwin, he's coming. He's a real big dude. But let me tell you what I've been going through. When I first heard this fight was happening, I was like, it's over. It's a wrap. Carwin's like ride in MMA has been bump free. He's just been able to walk in, knock dudes down, knock dudes out, roll out, easy, no tests, just loving life. MMA is like, I don't know what it stands for him, but it's more like, you know, beating ass. So that's what that dude does. I mean, I initially thought right away, I was like, oh, Carwin versus Gonzaga, that's it. It's a wrap. Like, you know, Carwin's done. You know, Gonzaga's better at this, he's better at that, he's better at this, he's younger, he's just as big, blah, 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 blah. And I even planned on keeping this one short and just being like, you know what I mean? But I've had some time to think about it, and it's a lot harder of a situation than I initially had thought it, you know what I mean? So let's get down with Carwin. 10-0, hasn't had a fight go past the 2:11 mark. 2 minutes and 11 seconds is the longest he's had to fight. He has literally ran over and then backed over and then ran over again everybody he's faced. He's 34 years old. He's a true heavyweight. He's not 228, 235. No, he is 265. Big ass dude. He's a two-time Division II runner-up. Wrestling wise, I'm talking about. That was back in 1996 though, just saying. And he was a Division II champ back in 1999. It was a while ago, but you know, he's big, he's strong, and he's good on top. No homo. The problem is that he's facing Gabriel Gonzaga. And I don't want to sound disrespectful to anybody out there, but Gabriel Gonzaga is unlike the rest of his opponents. And by that, I mean Gabriel Gonzaga is not a can. Yes, y'all are going to ask, am I calling Christian Welch a can? Maybe not like the biggest can, but you know what I mean? Anyways, Carwin has actually probably faced some of the easiest competition somebody his size could for a consistent amount of time, especially for his strength, ability, size. Basically, he's had nobody to come and test him. He's had nobody that poses any kind of threat, and I'm talking nobody. I'm not taking away from any of his wins. He still had to go out there. He still had to be, you know, a fighter and have that heart of a champion. But the reality is, he has been, you know, facing kaput. You know what I mean? Now, like his 11th fight, he's finally going to get tested by Gabriel and the Pau Gonzaga. Gabriel Gonzaga, 10 wins, 3 losses. 2 of those losses are from Fabricio Verdum. And his other losses against Randy Couture, where he got his face mangled with a headbutt and really got out-wrestled. He has many wins, but I'm only going to talk about the one that everybody really still can't forget, which was his Crow Cop kick over Crow Cop, where he jacked dude up real bad. He has some other notable wins, but you know what I mean? Let's just keep moving. The point is that he's fought people with significant histories and pasts and skills, and although he's lost to some, he's also beat some. He will have better striking than Carwin, in my opinion. He'll definitely have better kicks than Carwin. He has a better ground game when it comes to jiu-jitsu. Carwin is definitely wrestling-wise better. If Carwin ends up on top, then it's a good situation for Carwin. If he ends up on bottom, then it's over. If Gabe ends up on the bottom, it's not good for him, but he can still pull something out. If he ends up on top, like I said, you know what I mean? It's 2 different angles, 2 different situations. He's 5 years younger. He's almost as big. The whole thing is, after I've said all of this, and after I put it all down on paper, I still said to myself, I think, I have this suspicion, this sneaky feeling that Carwin will win the fight. And I can't go look at stats and look at figures and look at, you know, reality in the face and then turn my back on it. So I had to figure something out. And this is what I figured out. Gabriel Gonzaga will lose this fight if the fight is stopped in the first minute or in the 3rd round. Let me say that again. I'll say it from the other side. Shane Carwin can only win this fight in my head. This is how I gotta justify what I'm saying. Shane Carwin will win if in the first minute of the fight or the 3rd round. Any other time other than that, Gabriel Gonzaga wins this fight. It took a lot of stuff going on in my head. That's a whole different video, but that's how I see it. I've got Gabriel Gonzaga. My prediction, though, is Gabriel Gonzaga 2nd round submission. This is a humongous fight for Gabriel Gonzaga, a humongous fight for Carwin. This fight is basically, for each guy, it's kind of like, who is going to be able to go at Lesnar? A lot of people, including myself, have put Gonzaga as one of the guys, really good in jiu-jitsu, a big guy. That's pretty much Lesnar's nightmare. So can Gonzaga take Lesnar? Well, let's put him up against somebody slightly smaller than Lesnar, and let's see how he does. Same thing with Carwin. Carwin's a big wrestler. Randy Couture was, 225 when he came in, and he went for a round and a half. Lesnar wasn't able to, do his F5 and just lift him up and do all types of craziness. So, is Carwin somebody that can go at Lesnar? I'm not saying Lesnar the champ, because he very well may not be after his next fight. I'm just saying he's definitely, Lesnar, as we know, is always in the title shot contention All he has to do is win a fight, and he'll get a title shot, as we already seen in the past. Anyways, this fight is humongous for both guys. If Gabriel Gonzaga runs through Carwin, well, then we know. Okay, Carwin, he ain't that dude. Maybe he's a little too one-dimensional. Maybe he can't take on that higher echelon of fighter. If Gabriel Gonzaga loses to Carwin, well, then we know, oh, damn, Carwin's a little more for real than we had thought, or at least that I had thought. And maybe Gabriel Gonzaga, maybe his huge win really was just that huge win, because since then he's lost to all ranked fighters. All right, this fight means a lot. All right, let's move on. That one took a while. Hamill versus Munoz, or Munoz, or however you want to say it. Filipino last name, I'm not exactly sure. Matt Hamill, 5-2. I'm gonna bury it now for officially 5-2. I'm gonna accept the judge's decision in the fight that we know I'm talking about. In those 5 fights, we've seen a lot. We know his whole career basically. In those wins. We've seen him on Tough. We've seen his 5 wins with Forbes, Petruzzelli, Holman, Boach, and Andy Reese. Reese-Andy. We saw him in the robbery against Bisping. We saw his underwhelming performance against Rich Franklin. We saw that and know that he's a pretty strong wrestler who likes to throw that jab and lean a little bit too much he leans like real deep lean. Anyways, we know he has a tendency to gas and hard. We've seen his game develop, but not really the way that we've seen like Florian and Evans and Koscheck develop. Hamill's still looking to find his way, whereas a lot of these other guys I just mentioned, they came up in the UFC. We've seen all their fights for the most part, and they've got to that top echelon. Evans is the champ, Florian's the challenger, Koscheck's been the challenger. Hamill's still trying to find his way. He's at this point of his career, we know that he's better than all the UFC one-timers that come in and they get pushed to the side after a loss. And we know that he can pretty much beat any non-talented striker whose focus is wrestling. We also know that he can't hang, or at least in the past has been unable to hang with somebody of like Rich Franklin's caliber. So we know he's not, that top 10 type guy, somebody that could challenge any of the top 10 guys. So he's just trying to still work into who he is, find out who he is, and see what's going on. I think, even though he's not in the weight class anymore, he could beat Bisping again. Anybody that's kind of like a Lieben at 205, he'll run through him. And that's basically what we know about Hamill. We've basically seen the dude from beginning to present, and we'll see the future. He trains with Team Punishment. He's 32. He's looking to get another win. This win won't move him closer to the title shot, but it will get him likely another bout with a Franklin-esque fighter. He might get like a top 10 fight if he wins this next fight here. Who is he fighting? He's fighting, I'm going to call him Mark Munoz. It's just only like 5 letters, but it seems harder to actually pronounce than it is. 5-0, 3 KOs, born in Japan. He's the first Filipino American to win a Division I wrestling title. He's a wrestler who can strike. I think his striking is actually probably a little bit better than Hamill's. He fights out of Sacramento, Florida. He trains with Faber and Fam at Ultimate Fitness, and he's looking to make a big splash in the UFC. Not a belly flop, but a big splash. He's fought his last 2 fights in WC, where he defeated Chuck Grisby and Ricardo Barros. The Chuck Grisby beating was a highlight type situation. I want to say kind of like how Fedor was coming through that guard and blasting Nogueira. I want to, but I'm not going to, even though I kind of did. Anyways, it was a nice win. He's definitely a good test for Hamill, whose striking isn't all that great, and whose wrestling, Munoz has actually more credited in wrestling, but you know, we'll see what happens in MMA, right? I think this fight's likely going to be a sloppy stand-up match where they go for takedowns when they're tired, and then the takedowns will only make them more fatigued, and then sloppier takedowns will happen, and eventually I see Hamill winning by very tired, gassed out, ground and pound in the third, with Munoz basically tired and on his stomach, covering up. Maybe that's a little too much detail because I'm not a, you know what I mean? I can't see the future, but that's kind of the way I see the fight going. Yeah, Hamill, he was only a Division 3 wrestler. Munoz was a Division 1 wrestler, but in MMA, things are different, and Hamill's wrestling in MMA has not been an issue. All right, Matt Brown versus Pete Sell. All right, this one here, I am going to keep short. I'm going to treat it like it was on the undercard because it should be, and I don't know why it's not. Sell is somehow still in the UFC. He was 0-3 going into his last fight where he beat Berkman. Berkman is now on his own 0-3 skid, I'm pretty sure. He actually, Pete Sell has beat Baroni, and that's about it. He lost to Quarry twice, lost to Scott Smith, lost to Talis Litis, or Latis. He's 8-4. He's got 3 submission wins, no knockouts, so I guess that makes him a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu fighter. Matt Brown, toughest man to ever walk the planet, son. The toughest guy on Earth. On Earth. Like, this dude is a beast, according to the Ultimate Fighter 7. He's 8-7. He hasn't won 2 fights in a row since 2006. No disrespect, you know, he's kind of hairy, somewhat flabby, you know. I ain't looking at other dudes like that because it's a fight. I'm just saying, you know what I mean? He's at the weight class where he should be able to take care of his form. Anyways, I've got Pete Sell winning this by decision. I would say no disrespect, and I don't feel any like I'm trying to disrespect anybody, but I don't know who would believe it anyways. This fight really should be on the undercard of a King of the Cage event. Next, Gray Maynard versus Jim Miller. Gray Maynard's huge. He's 6-0-1. He's got big wins over Rich Clementi and Frankie Edgar, which is his biggest win, I believe. Frank Edgar was undefeated at the time. Maynard's a wrestler. He trains out of Extreme Couture, and he has all of his wins by decision except for 1 KO. But I think he really has 2 KOs and a TKO because they didn't count when he TKO'd Rob Emerson and KO'd himself with that big slam, which ended up being no contest. Anyways, the lightweight division is stacked, and everybody wants their Shido Tot. That's right. I said Shido Tot. That's what it's called. That's what the title shot is called now, since Thiago Alves has changed it around. He also sounded like he said GSP look really gay, but he actually said, yes, GSP look really great. So I like Shido Tot. I like it. Anyways, you know, he's going to have to put wins together like the one he had over Edgar and Clementi. And he's going to have to put those together with other wins, like potentially one over Miller and somebody else to get that Shido Tot. The lightweight division is basically like this. If your name is not Penn, Florian, Sanchez, or Shirk, you've got to put in some extra work to get to the top. Extra work will come in the form of Jim Miller. Jim Miller, 13-1, 9 submissions, 1 KO. He and his brother Dan are both up-and-comers to keep a watchful eye on. This is Jim's 3rd fight in the UFC and his toughest one, in my opinion. Back in 2006, Edgar handed Miller his first and only loss to date, and it was his first loss back in Jim Miller's 6th fight. Since then, he's gone on an 8-fight winning streak. He's got wins over Matt Wyman, Baron Palashevsky. He's the Cage Rage champion. Sorry, the Cage Fury champion, the Reality Fighting champion. He's been fighting since basically 2006, and he's been very active, and he's looking to make his own mark on the 155 division. This is a good fight for each guy. Maynard will look to knock off a future threat, and I believe this fight will end a unanimous decision for Maynard. Maynard should try to finish this fight. Like, the more you finish fights in the UFC, the more they love you. But in the end, Maynard really wants to just win. So do what you got to do, but I think he's going to just be too big, too overwhelming, and the better wrestler of the two. I don't know if this fight will produce lots of fireworks, but hey, I think it will be an interesting fight nonetheless. All right, undercard. Tamden McCrory will defeat Madigan. Kendall Grove will either TKO Jason Day, or he will be cut from the UFC. He will go from the Ultimate Fighter winner to the Ultimate Fighter reject, and it will be the first time that's ever happened since the show's inception. Tim Boach, I believe, will KO Brills in a sloppy mess of a fight. If Brandon Vera doesn't finish Pat with destructive authority, then he needs to reconsider his career as a fighter in the most elite MMA show in North America. And I believe Aaron Riley will out-tough the former tougher Shane Nelson. That's about it. I'm going to try and get back for that dream cards. Got some good stuff on there, some inside stuff. I found out some crazy stuff about my man Shogun. I can't say a lot of it, but I can say I'm nervous as hell. That's all I gotta say. Nervous. That's UFC 97. That's the next one. That's the one I'm going to. And you know why? You know what I mean? Because MMA is important, yo. It is important. And that's about it. Peace. Oh yeah, one more thing. I can't believe I forgot this. Shout out to Sanji Ribeiro and George Brito and Josh Rapport and everybody at Toronto BJJ. I got my blue belt, y'all. If anybody see my highlight reel, Chapter 1 is over. Chapter 2 begins. Blue belt. I'm going to get the highlight reel up. You know, in the next year, if y'all are still around, see what we can do.